We'll do in Maimori Meluket, in Chelik Dalet. This is the Maimer of ציון bמשפט תפדה in Shabbos, Parshas Dvorim, Shabbos Chazon, which was the fourth day of Mנחem in the year Tafshin Lamed Vov. The Maimer is ציון bמשפט תפדה ושבי בצדקה. We numbered it 15b. And later on, this Maimer was published in Shabbos for Shabbos Chazon Tafshin Memtes, and it said there that it was for the Shabbos Kodesh Parshas Dvorim Shabbos Chazon, which was Dal Menachem of, and the dated that was the was published for the date on the Kuntris is Rosh Chodesh Menachem of Tafshin Memtes. See, the same kvi is that Shabbos Tafshin Lamed Vov and the Tafshin Memtes when they published the Maimer. So we'll learn the Maimer inside. Sayeh to the Shmaya, Shabbos Parshas Dvorim, Shabbos Chazon, Daled Menachemov, Tafshin Lamed Vov. So this is from the last posik in the Haftorah from Shabbos Chazon. The posik concludes the Perek with the apostle ציון bמשפט תפדה ושבי בצדקה. That ציון, whether it's the Bnei Yisrael, Yidden are called ציון, or the city of Yerushalayim, which is called ציון, they will be redeemed with justice, with Torah, and the Shaveho, those who are in captivity, will be redeemed with tzedakah. There's different ways to touch the pasuk, whether Shaveho means the returnees, those captives, different Maimorim, the different places, but the Rebbe is not going to go into this over here right away. And the Rebbe brings down from the Likutei Torah. Maybe Admur Hazaken Likutei Torah Dibra Maschil Zeh. The Alter Rebbe in the Likutei Torah with the same opening of this Maimer, B'tchilos in the beginning. Mashakosu, what the pasuk says, "V'hoyu hadvorim ha'ela asher anochi mitzavcha hayoim." These words, Moshe Rabbeinu is saying to the Yidden, these words that I command you today. These words were not not really commanded on that day. Those were words that were commanded a long time ago during the mitzvahs that they were given on Har Sinai, the 40 years in the desert. Why does it say that I command you today? Because this hayoim shezekoyi al kol yom. Every day, anochi mitzavcha is not an old, as if something from time ago. But you have to look at the words of Torah as if it's today that I tell you to do it. There's a much greater interest, excitement, if this is something that you feel that you just gotten it today rather than something which is an old story. Shezeh koyi al kol yom. Anochi mitzavcha yom goes on every day. Ki b'chol yom yiyu beinecho kechadoshim, because every day the words of the Torah, the Dvarim ha'ela, need to be as if it's today. So he explains about this, that in order to come to the level, so how does one accomplish, how does one reach this madrege that every day it should be like new? Who al yidei his bonenus bepasuk zagufa, is by reflecting and meditating on this verse itself, on this verse of v'hoyu hadvorim ha'ela asher anochi mitzavcha hayoim. You reflect on this verse, that these words that I command you today, and then that will help you that it should be kadosh. What does it mean? The ishavus kol ha'olamis himemidas hamalchus, to reflect what is accomplished through the mitzvahs that a person does every day. that it's much greater and much higher than anything that the world has. Mitzvahs that a Yid has, Dvorim ha'ela, are much more powerful and bring the light of Hashem in a much greater measure than anything else of the world. That will make him excited every day about Torah. These Havus, Kol Ha'olam, is the creation of all the worlds. Himimidas Hamalchus, that comes from the measure and the attribute of Malchus, which is the in Atzilus, the lower level, and that is only Shehiraka Ora Bilvad. That is not the Oir Ein Sof, the full light of the infinite, but rather it is a ray from the Oir Ein Sof, only a ray. But Val Yidei Kiyum HaMitzvahs Ba'olam Hazeh, but through the observance of mitzvahs in this world, Hu Hamshachas HaAtzmos, we bring down the essence, the Ein Sof, the Atzmos himself. So these words, Asher Anoichi meaning Atzmos Mitzavcha, helps you become Hayoim, that this is wow, every day. Zeo Shanoichi Mitzavcha Hayoim. Who is Anoichi? As we say, Anoichi Misha Anoichi. When you say I, without a description, meaning it's not describing it, it's I, whoever I am, in the highest form of who I am, not a manifestation or a representation in some sort of a power or a name. It's I, myself. We're saying that who is mitzavcha, who gives you the mitzvahs? It's Anoichi mitzavcha. Anoichi misha Anoichi. B'lachein, because this is so much greater, the connection to Hashem through mitzvahs, that you get atzmus over here. V'lochein yofe sho achaz b'tshuva maisim tovim b'olam hazeh. It's more beautiful 1 hour of tshuva and good deeds in this world, mikol chaye ha'olam haba, than all the life of the world to come. Mitzvahs in this world, because it's atzmos, is much more beautiful than all of Olam Haba. Ki Olam Haba hu shenanim miziv hashechina. Because the world to come is that you enjoy the ray of the divine, which is ziv bilvad, which is merely, it's only a ray. Val yidei tshuva maisim tovim b'olam hazeh. But through tshuva and good deeds in this world, Hu hamshachas ha'atzmus, we bring down, we draw down atzmus. V'zehu asher anoichi mitzavecha hayom. That's why asher anoichi mitzavecha is only today. Today, meaning you can't do it later on. You have to do mitzvahs only today, because in Olam Haba you get ziziv hashchina. To get atzmus is only today, only here. Hayom davke. Hayom la soisom ulamachar lekabel zcharim. Today we do the mitzvahs. Today we bring it down, and lamachar the next day, meaning in Olam Haba, we get the reward. We get the enjoyment of it. And this reward, this chara mitzvah sheba'olam haba lamachar, the reward of the mitzvahs, which is in Olam Haba, which is the next day, which is lamachar, meant the next day. That's the next step, which is Olam Haba. Hurak ziv. It's only the ray over there. Vayidei kiyum hamitzvahs b'olam hazeh. On the other hand, when we do perform and do the mitzvahs in this world, hayoim la'asoisom, today when we do them, mamshichim ha'atzmus, we bring down atzmus. So when a person reflects as the only now is anoichim etzavucha hayoim, that we can get atzmus here, the person will come to Anochi Mitzavcha Hayom Kol Yom Menach Chadoshim. The excitement is as if it's something new. Through reflection in this idea that I am giving you, Atzmus is commanding you today, you have the opportunity to connect to Atzmus. Through the performance of mitzvahs in this world, we bring down Atzanochi. So that way, the mitzvahs will be as if they were been given today. That every day it will be like new in his eyes, mamish like new. So that's the Yom Lasos. Mamshech ba Maimer, so continues the Maimer. The koze hu kifi shetzorich liyos. This is the way things should be. Avol kishe'ene kein. But when it's not so, that the excitement is not there, kadoshim, because of the great opportunity and the hamshachas of atzmos. And what is the person bitter about? And what is he happy about? Hey, minyon elam hazeh, those are from matters of this world, not the yofesh achas, not the connection with atzmos, but from worldly matters. Azai hanitzutz eliki shaboi hu begolus benafshoy habahamis. Then the godly spark, which is in him, his neshama and his spark of the person who is bitter and happy about worldly matters, is in golus, in his animal soul. Kirochel lifnei goizezeho nelama. Just like the pasuk says, like the sheep is standing before those who shears, doesn't protest, doesn't say, it's silent, nelama, has no say. So the nitzutz, the spark, the godliness within him is silent, has no expression, because it's all materialistic. And this is why we're saying that Tzin will be redeemed through the mishpat, to redeem from this situation. This is basically a synopsis what the Rebbe, Alter Rebbe, says in the Maimon Lekutei Torah in Tzim B'Mishpat Tipon. So the Rebbe asks now several questions, two questions. But Tzorich Lo, over here it seems the only way to do mitzvahs is it has to be like new. But if it's like old, it's not Hayom Kadoshim, then we say for sure that he's bitter about Olam Hazeh. But why can't he do Torah mitzvahs, not like new, and still not be involved all that in Olam Hazeh? Why does it have to connect that way? Tzorich Lahavit. The L'chaira would see Gam Kisham mitzvahs hem k'moy diyu tagmo yisheno. Of even when mitzvahs are like an old letter in his eyes, you can still fulfill it with energy. Bad, to the extent that the Torah mitzvahs should be by him the main, even though he doesn't have that level that it's like something new, but it doesn't mean that he can't be mainly involved. The Torah mitzvah should be his main thing. But from the fact that the Maimer says when it's not so, he doesn't have that level of excitement like it's a new kichadoshim, so then it must mean that he's involved in materialistic, in olam hazeh, mashma l'chayda. So it seems like, it appears that what he's saying is, the kasher ha-mitzvahs einom kichadoshim be'enov, if the mitzvahs are not like new in his eyes, as vadai, then we know for sure, sha'ameriris v'asimcha sheloi heminyon elam hazeh, that his bitterness and his happiness is from worldly matter. Why? That's one question. Why do we say that if the person is not at the level that it should be, like new every day, then it has to be that his energy, his bitterness, and his excitement is in Elam Hazeh? Why? Could be he's doing mitzvahs, not like something new, not like a chadoshim, and like an old tool, but still that'll be his main chayis. We also need to understand Mashekosu Bahamaimer, what the Maimer says, that in order for a person to come to the level of Chadoshim, is through the reflection when the person thinks that he gets the level of Anoichi in this world, that through the observance of mitzvahs in Elam Hazeh today, which is a much greater, the mitzvahs that we do here, we get atzmos, and which is much greater than the reward of mitzvahs, which is only a ziv. That reflection. So, why is it only the l'chayre mikivon shehanoah v'atainug meziv hashchina b'olam habo tainug god b'yeser? Let it be that it is not the tainug of amshachas ha'atzmus. Let it be that the tainug is only of olam haba. Still, that's a huge tainug that the person gets through the avodah of mitzvahs. So, why is the Rebbe saying dafke we get atzmus? Especially, we're not only talking about the olam haba in Gan Eden, we're even talking about olam haba in olam atchiyah. We're not just talking about Gan Eden. Agam lo'olam atchiyah. The revelation that will be in the world of Techiyah is much greater than the Gilu of Gan Eden, which means there's even greater revelation in Olam Haba, in Gan Eden, and certainly in Olam Techiyah, which is greater even than Olam Haba. So, why does the person need to know that he's mamshech atzmis, even if he knows the schar of the mitzvah which he gets in Gan Eden and Elam Haba? That should be enough to get him excited. Even if he would reflect in the greatness of the reward of mitzvah Haba, he will have a tremendous energy in the observance of the mitzvahs. But in the Maimer it says, that in order for the mitzvahs to be in his eyes like new, and not like an old letter. So in order, then you need to reflect specifically that I am the one that has commanded you. The level hamayla, the hayom la'asoisom, we have to think about the advantage of what of today to do it, which is higher than the next day. Olam haba Gan Eden is to get the reward. The reward isn't sufficient to get the person to be kichadoshim, to have that chayis godel. But l'cheira, just knowing the schar godel should give him a lot of chayis. Why do we need to know that the hamshoche is even greater than the schar? Why is that necessary? So the Rebbe asked two questions on the explanation of the Alter Rebbe. First of all, the Rebbe says, why taka do we need, in order, if we don't have that highest level of chayis, chadoshim, then it seems that the person is involved in miriris and simchas elam hazeh. Why can't we do mitzvahs with like an old letter, not chadoshim, and still be mainly involved in it? Why do we say that if we don't have that level, then automatically your simcha miriris are from elam hazeh? And number two, why do we need the reflection that what's in this world is atzmos, which is even greater than the schar that we get in Gan Eden Elam Haba? That seems pretty lofty, the schar of Gan Eden Elam Haba. That should be enough to get the person to do the mitzvahs with this extra chayis. So why do we need dafke know the knowledge of that with mamsher atzmos? Eisbeis. Yuvan Zebahagdim will understand it by introducing Shebichdei Shebechol Yom Yiyu Beinecho Kechadoshim Hu Al Yidei Gilui Bechina Shalamaylo Mishinuyim. In order for it to be every day like new, how could something be every day like new when time passes? And if time passes, it does a job, so it's not new. How do we keep things new? To bring in a level, reveal a level which is higher than changes. So time, which is change, you bring in a level which is higher than change. How do you bring in a level which is higher than change into the world? Time, it changes. That is what the Zman is. Zman is change. How do we bring in a level which is higher than change? So if we want every day should be the Chadoshim, you can't just bring a Gilu, you need to bring a Gilu Hal Yidei HaGilui, the Oire Sof Shel L'mayla Mi'Slapshus Ba'olamis, is by revelation of the infinite light which is higher than dressing in the world, which is the Oir HaSovev, the light that surrounds, which is not cut up in the Zman or Mokim, but is higher. By drawing down that level, that's way Zman or Mokim doesn't have an impact. There's no change, and it could be Chadosh. The Oir HaMislabish Ba'olamis, the Oir that dresses up in the world, Oir HaMemala, Hu Ba B'Tziyur Mugbal. It comes in a defined shape, restricted shape, to vitalize the Nivroim according to their level. Like our sages, blessed memories, say about the Oir HaMemale, that Ma HaNefesh Memale Es HaGuf, Kach HaKadosh Baruch Hu Memale Es Olamei. Just as the soul dresses up in an inner way and fills the body, vitalizes the body, likewise Hashem is Baruch, HaKadosh Baruch Hu fills the world. Just like the vitality of the soul that dresses up in the body. It's according to the limbs of the body. That every limb, the vitality is according to its level. Similarly is this chayis of the world in which the light of Memale extends. Zesh HaKadosh Baruch Hu Memale Eselome, the fact that Hashem fills the world. Shachai is the Chol Nivro Liferkai. that the vitality of every created being is according to their value, to their level. Move on. So this is every specific. So the world in general, to the definition of the world generally, mokim uzman. I'm not talking about us individual, but generally, shemitzad eid hamemali, that from the perspective, the eid hamemali efsher sheyiyeh ba'olam inyan shelamaylam bizman mokim. You can't have in the world an aspect which is higher than zman and mokim, because world by definition is memali, is filled by the oir hamemali. So from the perspective, there cannot be something higher. Vagam shegam ho'er shemeslabish ba'olam eine nitrafas begidra olam. So this oil that we're saying that is memale, it still also doesn't really dress up in the world. It is not captured within the definitions of the world. While the oil memale in the world, but it is not limited by the u'k'moshe kosuf ein kodesh kahavaya. There is nobody who is kodesh, distinct, holy, separated like Hashem. It says the Zohar explains that there's a lot of separation, but the Eibishter's separation, while he is connected, he's still distinct. He's memale, but he's still kodesh. There is a lot of holiness, distinction, separation, but v'leis kodesh ka'havaya. But there's no distinction like Hashem. That's the level of memale. The chidush bekodesh havaya. What is the kodesh havaya? Ushagam shu malumesh ba'nivroim umechayosem b'pnimiyusom. Notwithstanding the fact that he's dressed up in the creations and he vitalized them in their inner, he's memale. And yet he's distinct, he's holy, he's above, he's distinct, separate from them, does not get caught up in them, notwithstanding that he's memale them. So it seems like also not only the Eira Sevev, the Eira Mamali also doesn't really fully come down. The Rebbe will explain that the Oir doesn't fully come down, but the world does fully get what it gets from that perspective. But the Rebbe brings down now another interpretation on the word V'yeshloimar. Zeu pirush hu mekoyma shel olam ve'ein olam mekoyma. This is the meaning. The Eibishter says, "Hinei mokoim iti," not I'll meet you in a place, but the mokoim is with me, basically to saying you're not going in a place, but the Eibishter is mekoyma shel olam. What does that mean? Hu mekoyma shel olam. The Eibishter is the place of the world, but the world is not his space. So basically, we're saying the Eibishter does not dress up in the world. The hu mekoyma shel olam koi al oir hamemale shumachayis olam. Hu mekoyma shel olam means he is the place. He does come down in the world because he revitalizes the world. Ba'afa pikein ein ha'olam mekoyma. The world is not mekoyma she'ein nitfas bazeh. The Eibishter doesn't get caught up, so he's there and not there also. Al kol ponim. The Rebbe tied this the way the Rebbe teaches also. Who mekoyma shel olam, that the oil comes down memale, but the olam is not mekoyma, that the Eibishter still does not get caught up. It doesn't become his place. So we see that even memale doesn't fill the world, really doesn't get caught up. But hinei zeh she'ha'oil nishar b'pshitusei. This that the oil remains in its simplicity, phased, unformed, unshaped. Gam la'achri shemislabish b'ha'olam. Even after he dressed up in the world, that's as far as the oir goes. So even though Mimali is also Kodesh Muvdul, but that's only as far as the oir goes. But as it relates to the world, Hachayis the ha'olam hamislabish, as far as the world perspective, the vitality of the world that dresses up is measured and limited by the definition of the world. The world gets its measured, and therefore, in order to be every day like new, which means that the zman, time doesn't make any change. In Yeshalam Izman, this is something which is above time, because we say time doesn't change, which means over there it's a level which is higher, it doesn't pass any time. That is through the revelation of the light of sin.